Hey everybody, welcome into the Big Play, Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. That is, I'm Ryan Tyler, he's Jack O'Rourke, he's Nick Padone up at the desk. Guys, happy March Madness, Sweet 16, we enter there. But we got a lot to talk about today, guys. Browns quarterback room, still pretty void. Russell Wilson, not on a team yet. Aaron Rodgers, not on a team yet. Guardians making plenty of moves, extending Tanner Bibee, trading for an old friend in Nolan Jones. And routine guy, if we have time, he takes over the internet. You've seen it if you're on Twitter, if you're on any social media, dunks his face in the ice, wakes up at 3 a.m., wastes hours and hours pretending he's doing something productive. I did see that because we are 1 month from the NFL draft, guys. So you got to dunk your face in ice water to get prepped. Nick, you tweeted it this morning. How many more debates can we have about what the Browns take it to? Just 1 more month of that until whoever it is on the Browns roster.
1 month away. Within 1 month, we will have our answer of what the Browns are going to do with the number 2 overall pick. And then that night, we could quickly pivot to what they should do with the 33rd overall pick to start the second round on Friday. It's so nice that we're almost here. It's kind of almost a little bit unreal that it seems like now we have maybe a little more uncertainty than ever. I've seen a lot of mock drafts. You know, of course, a lot of people will still continue to pencil Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward in that number 2 overall spot because the Browns do still need a quarterback. But you still see some people out there that are convinced that it could be Abdul Carter, it could be Travis Hunter. So we're, in the thick of it here, boys. We got Guardians starting up this week. They've made a bunch of big moves. We got Sweet 16 tipping off later this week, and then we're a month away from the NFL draft. We are in the thick of it this week at the Big Play Sports Network.
I'm kind of glad that it would be nice to have 2 first-round picks, don't get me wrong, but the fact you pick 33rd, so it'll be the second day, you have that whole night to just ingest what the number 2 pick is and have all the debate on whether it was the right pick or not. If something crazy happens, you have it to digest until you take your next pick at 33, unless they trade back into the first. Hey, I mean, we've seen crazier things happen, so that's always a possibility. But we got to start with what the Browns are going to do at quarterback. Is it going to be Shedeur Sanders? Is it going to be Cam Ward if he's not taking number 1 overall? Because right now the Browns don't have a quarterback room. Your only quarterback right now is one Kenny Pickett. Jameis Winston off the table. It didn't seem like he was ever going to come back to play here in Cleveland. I think that was pretty obvious, but now it's for sure as he signs with the New York Giants. Aaron Rodgers visits Pittsburgh for 6 hours. No deal gets done, but good sign there for Pittsburgh that Rodgers will probably land there. That leaves us what? Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz is another option on the table for us. I think it's going to be Russell Wilson, guys, if I had to bet today.
Yeah, because he's the only one who you could possibly dupe anyone into thinking could be the quarterback of a 500 football team of the guys who are left standing. Joe Flacco's still unsigned too, right? I believe.
Yes.
So maybe our boy comes home too, but
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I'm just so caught on where this Browns franchise even is because you have these Ayuk reports coming out too, like maybe they could trade for Ayuk. You have this high draft pick. Miles is coming back. Miles was going to leave. Are we going to try and be good? Are we going to try and be bad? Are we going to try and be right in the middle and maybe make the playoffs? I don't even know if Andrew Berry knows the answer to that question. So let's figure that out this week, and then from there find a quarterback and move forward.
Yeah, that's a good point out of Jack there. Is what are we really trying to do here? What
I have
are we
no
really
clue.
Trying to accomplish. I think right now where my head is at least, is that they're going to try to do the hybrid thing. They're probably going to try to do Russell Wilson. Here's the thing with Russell Wilson, though, guys, and I guess I didn't realize this. Daniel Jones got $14 million. I mean, you got to imagine Russell Wilson's sitting down at the negotiation table and is asking for probably a good smidge more than $14 million. So you can't necessarily get Russell Wilson on the cheap. And then you're looking at the NFL draft and you've still got to solve your quarterback of the future. We've heard all of the things that this is maybe a weaker quarterback class and draft. Maybe that's tipping your cap a little bit that you give Russell Wilson half the season, the full season this year, and it's Shedeur Sanders in 2026. I don't know. It is bizarre.
Let me ask you this, though, because if you are Russ or any quarterback who's coming into Cleveland, you're probably under the decent understanding that if you take X amount of dollars, this roster will not be good enough to compete around you. And if you're a guy like Russ who's older, you'd think like, hey, I haven't been great since I left Seattle. Maybe I don't want this Denver contract to be what people remember me by. I might take a lower contract to get some guys around me. Is that a possibility at all?
Well, I said this, Nick, I'm glad you brought up the Daniel Jones number because I said this when I saw it, right? Daniel Jones mentioned signs a 1-year $14 million in Indianapolis to play for the Colts. Kirk Cousins, generational bag stealer. Daniel Jones is right under him to be the next generational bag stealer. And he's going in there competing a much higher competition between
Correct.
Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson than Russell Wilson will have here with either Shador or Kenny Pickett, right? And he's getting $14 million to compete for that job. Obviously, Russell Wilson, if he comes in here, he's going to have to compete in camp. But if you're looking at it's Russell Wilson, it's Kenny Pickett, and it's a rookie quarterback, Russell Wilson's going to be your week 1 starter.
And if especially if Russell Wilson and the price tag associated with it, is anywhere in the ballpark of what I saw floated around this week, which could we just say $20 million? So if you're in the high teens, low 20s, that's not backup money at all.
Unless you're Kirk
that's
Cousins.
starting quarterback money.
Yeah, unless you're Kirk Cousins getting paid a bag to sit behind Michael Penix. Interesting choice there for the Falcons. Other news for the Browns, Jerome Baker, hometown kid, coming back to Cleveland, giving us some depth there in the linebacker position. Nick, you were a fan of this move.
I was a big fan of it just because Jerome Baker has been consistently good everywhere. And I know people wanted to maybe downplay it or crap on this a little bit, just saying, hey, this is a guy that you guys are only excited about because he's a homegrown kid, went to Benedictine, went to Ohio State, but he's had success and has put up numbers in every single stop. Obviously, he had a very successful run with the Miami Dolphins before they kind of decided to blow up their defense. He was good in Seattle. He got traded at the deadline where he was good with Tennessee for just the back half of last season on a horrible Tennessee Titans team. So I was excited about this because you look at the Browns linebacking room, guys, like JOK, kind of still a question mark. And then outside of him, it's not that impressive of a room. So Jerome Baker, I think, will provide some serious depth, and it's a good move just to bring the hometown kid home. He knows what it means to, be a Cleveland Brown and to play in this city.
You mentioned a great point because we did this last offseason with, I think Justin Hardy is his name, I believe. I could be wrong. Where people right away just like, oh, they only brought him back because he's from Cleveland or they want to get this or put a couple extra butts in seats. You lose all right to say anything about that when a team wins 3 games. At that point, you're doing anything you can to get people in the seats. But I wanted to ask you, Ryan, about this because you kind of did the same little grimace with your head that I did when Nick said a certain name, JOK.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance? I'm not going to say that he's done, but I'm kind of worried because Nick Chubb, every step of the way, okay, he's running now.
Right.
Okay, he's doing this. Okay, we're hearing this and that about him. Have we heard a word about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah since the 3 of us were in the stadium and it happened?
No, and they usually say...
We were in the stadium.
They usually... Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
They usually say no news is good news, but I don't know about if that you can say that for this, right?
I think injury progression, it's bad
I haven't
news,
heard
no
anything,
news.
and
And
obviously...
Andrew Berry was asked about it at the Combine, and it was just a non-answer.
And I mean, obviously, when you have an upper neck, anything above the shoulders, I mean...
You're
talking
kind of
about-
more than just football at that
yeah,
point, too.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're talking about life-altering moves, and Jock... I had the pleasure of talking to him when he was on the Cribs a while ago. I mean, just such a smart young guy. I say young guy; he's probably a year older than me. Such a smart guy. I mean, when you're looking at that football move, right? Like you got to look ahead to your future.
I mean, yeah, he got a degree from Notre Dame in 3
I mean, the
years,
money,
so he's not a
the
dummy.
money you're already set, man. And I get it. Like you dedicated your life to this, and you had goals of going out there, being all pro, making a name for yourself.
He was on that track.
and he
too.
was, and
that's
he
what makes
was,
it
and he
so-
got the deal. They extended.
And all
it.
he's like just overcoming everything with
It's
his
scary,
family.
man. You just think of stuff like Ryan Shazier, right?
Yeah.
Like you just hope the best for him because he was so meaningful. Like outside of Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, Jock at that second level was your guy. And look to be extension. He got it as well deserved to be your future at that linebacker position. It sucks.
It's terrible, man. I was going to mention, like, going back to, his brother passed away, I think it was an off season or 2 ago now. Like, he's just been going through it, and you can tell mentally, too. And he's such a heck of a football player. Like, going back to when he was at Notre Dame, he was a guy who, until he had health issues pop up before the draft, like, very likely, I can comfortably say would have been a top 15 pick, if not higher, probably higher than Kyle Hamilton in the same draft. But
I remember,
sucks,
man, that draft. I was like, please take Jock, please take Jock, please take Jock. Then what? You took Newsome, and I was like,
Newsome,
we're not going to
yeah.
get Jock. And then he fell to the second round, and I was like, wow, that is the best pick in the second round.
And then when they traded back up, I'll never forget. And like, and two, we're talking about it like it's for sure career over. Like we don't know, we don't. There hasn't been an update, but I remember, man, when that was the draft that was in Cleveland, and when second round, obviously all Browns fans there, and when they traded up, and that graphic came across that the Cleveland Browns are on the clock, the buzz that went all throughout downtown Cleveland. People understood that the pick was going to be Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Like it was, you could feel the energy.
that Cleveland Notre Dame pipeline too. I'm sure I wasn't the only Browns Notre Dame fan who was praying for it from the start of the draft, like I do every single year for the top Notre Dame guy off the board to come to Cleveland. But they always go to someone else in the AFC North every single year.
Yeah, they do.
Well, hopefully we'll get some good news on that for Jock. We got to take our first break. When we get back, we have so much Guardians news to talk about. Tanner Bybee extension. You trade trade for Nolan Jones, say goodbye to Tyler Freeman, Tristan McKenzie starting the season in the bullpen. Will Brennan might not be on the opening day roster now. We'll break all that down and more when we get back here on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone up at the desk. Before we dive into every single move the Guardians made just this weekend, I got to tell you about our friends at Fairway Ford. Fairway Ford is the biggest Ford truck dealership in the state of Ohio. They have the largest selection of Ford F-150s and Super Duty trucks, and I promise you they will not be beat on price by any other Ford dealers. Do not let a short drive to Canfield, Ohio prevent you from saving thousands. That's thousands of dollars you can save on your new ride. Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks. Lowest pricing and the same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com. That's fairwayfordohio.com. And they will deliver to you now. You literally can't beat it at Fairway Ford. Go check them out. Guardians news. Jack, insane amount of news came out. Your reaction, what do you think?
I mean, I'm sure we'll get the full reaction as we delve into the individual cases here. But yeah, we were just talking about it between the break. If you know me, you know I'm a huge Tanner Bibee guy. You know I'm a massive Nolan Jones guy.
Bro, it's a vibe.
Yeah, I'm a massive Nolan Jones guy. I'm a massive Tristan McKenzie to the bullpen guy. And I'm a massive not Will Brennan guy. So, I mean, if you talk about people who you could have tapped on the shoulder Friday afternoon when we're watching March Madness out there, hey, you're going to love this weekend out of the Guardians. Jack O'Rourke, probably top 5 in the country.
All right, well, we start here with Tanner Bibee getting the extension from the Guardians. This includes a guaranteed $48 million for Bibee. He receives a $2 million signing bonus, $3 million in 2025, $4 million in 26, $7 million in 27, $10 million in 28, $21 million in 29, and an option worth $21 million when we get to the next decade of 2030. Super team-friendly deal.
Yeah.
Well-deserved for a guy that right now is your best pitcher as it stands. Shane Bieber might, when he comes back, Gavin Williams might get there eventually, but without a doubt right now, Tanner Bibee is your pseudo-ace on this ball club. He gets a well-deserved payday, and we're glad that he's here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, thank you a lot, Andres Jimenez, for freeing up the money for it. It's really great that Tanner Bibee is back, because if you wanted a sniff of having Tanner Bibee when he was in his 30s, this had to get done right now, and it did. Perfect move for the Guardians. I mean, obviously, you kind of said Bieber there for a second. Bieber, you're in this nice position where it's a little 2-year player option thing where he's not really even eating up a ton of money on your cap. This was the time where it had to get done. There are some out there, maybe even me, who would argue you a Gavin Williams extension wouldn't have been crazy either, probably for a lot less money incrementally, obviously. But this was absolutely the move that had to get done before opening day. You were hoping, I think, for one of Bibee or Quan, or both ideally, but getting one of those two shored up is the right move.
Yeah, and there's still time on Steven Kwan. I will say this is what we, have implored the guards to do for years and years and years, is spend money, take care of your homegrown guys. To think that we went from CC Sabathia, who we couldn't pay, to Corey Kluber, who we traded because we weren't going to pay, to Shane Bieber, who, was so good and dealt with injuries and kind of paid and kind of keeping around. And now Tanner Bibee as, the next ace in that awesome pipeline.
People forget too, Sabathia. So we had CC Sabathia and Cliff Lee, who won back-to-back American League Cy Young Awards and were traded off of our roster the following season, which you'd have to think is the only time ever, right?
I would imagine.
That
certainly ain't happening with the Dodgers or Yankees.
No, nope. Or any other town that gets back-to-back Cy Youngs, for sure. So it's just cool to see that the progression of the Guards pitching factory stays consistent. They produced another good one in Tanner Bibee, and it's nice to see that finally took care of this one, and glad to have him in Cleveland for a really
if you
long
see how
time.
like the money breaks down here too as well, it's pretty nice. Well, yeah, I thought I had like the John Gruden screen up with me on the side here, yeah, but the telestrator. But if you see how the money breaks down too, it's very nice that it really doesn't kick up in money until Jose's gone, or not gone,
Right.
but
Off the
off this
books,
current contract. So this also gives you some money to play around for the next couple of years. Maybe you try and compete with Jose still here.
Super friendly club deal. I mean, this is the Guardians special, what they do with their players, but I'm so happy Bibee's extended. I want to ask you guys this, because the two main extensions I think everybody wanted this offseason was Bibee, of course, and Stephen Kwan. Now, you got one of the two done. I want to ask you, though, what do you think was the more important extension for this ball club moving forward? Because you could make the argument Kwan was so productive, one of the best leadoff hitters we've seen, at one point batting 400. The injury caused a little bit of the derailment, but he got it back together near the end of the season and postseason. But what extension is more important for this ball club? Was it getting this Bibee one done?
I think it's Kwan. It's just because I've seen us develop pitchers over and over and over again. I think I've seen us develop two left fielders in my lifetime, Michael Brantley and Stephen Kwan. So it's so valuable, but it's tough because I really do think if you're going to get Stephen Kwan extended long-term in a Cleveland Guardians uniform, it's going to need to come before opening day this year. I really do still believe that, because I think he's probably going to keep on improving. Like, he got up to 15 bombs last year. That's going to keep growing. He's very close to playing himself out of Cleveland Guardians money. So while he is still within Cleveland Guardians money to some extent, you got to go get it done, I think.
I agree with Jack. Like, just to have, especially in this outfield where there's a good deal of uncertainty, and maybe some of that uncertainty, at least the Nolan Jones trade, I was a fan of that. You know, Lane Thomas is going to be a free agent after this season, so what happens with him? If you lose Stephen Kwan, that's just another big time question mark. And Stephen Kwan, you know, not just a great guy, you know, friend of Big Play, obviously we all love him here. There is no one else that I would rather have in all of Major League Baseball leading off the top of this order than Stephen Kwan. Like, the fact that he's always on base, it sets the tone for the entire game, sets the top of the lineup day in, day out, the definition of consistency. The fact that he's been able to improve his game every single year. We've seen him add the power. We knew that the contact was always there. We've seen him become one of the elite defensive left fielders in the game. Like, he deserves a bag. I think he's going to get it, and I just hope it's here in Cleveland.
He's never not won a Gold Glove in Major League Baseball. If Stephen Kwan is in the outfield, he wins the Gold Glove.
Yes. Better
I would
Miles
love
Straw.
to keep that guy around.
It's a better Miles Straw. You can hit at the plate. We love to see it.
By the way, shout out to Miles Straw. You did make the Toronto Blue Jays opening day roster. Good for you.
I didn't see that, did he?
Yeah, so usually when you accidentally trade for a guy who hits 200 for $6 million, he has to make the opening day roster. So sorry, Toronto.
Neighbors up north making moves. So, Jack, you're not concerned at all. I know the impact that Kwan has. The reason I asked that question was because Bieber, if he plays well the second half when he comes back, I think we can make the educated guess he'll get traded, correct? We'll start there, right?
If we're not doing well. I think if we're doing well, we keep him, obviously.
But I'm saying next season, if Bieber pitches well, some team will give him more money than us. Yes or no? Do you agree with that?
It depends where we're at, but possibly.
Okay, then you look at it, right? Gavin Williams, you hope there's a lot there. Bibee's your one for sure thing right now locked up.
Yep.
You go back to kind of a lot of their pitchers are in high school, but you got guys like Doug Nikhazy, you got like Joey Cantillo, so you're not worried about that pitching farm. I mean, that's been the Guardians' specialty, right?
No, and also just this modern incarnation of Cleveland Guardians baseball under Stephen Vogt, which is a very small sample size of one season. We didn't really have a crazy emphasis on starting pitching. It was kind of get through 5 1/3, keep us within 2 runs. Hey, we have the best bullpen in baseball, which it seems like will be around for the next couple of years. I don't know. I mean, there's some fun young guys too. Like even past Nikhazy, you have Will Dion, who's going to be in AAA this year for the first time. Parker Messickson get to AAA. There's enough young guys there with potential that I think you can either A, bank on 2 to 3 of those guys working out as major league respectable pitchers, or B, group them up, send them out. Sandy Alcantara, welcome to Cleveland, brother.
Well, the video game Cleveland Guardians have a young prospect named Ryan Tyler on the Akron Rubber Ducks. Who's a
how's
two-way
he
player,
doing?
hitting 400, averaging 10 strikeouts a game, hoping to get the call up to Columbus soon. So the Guardians,
Two-way?
Two-way, baby.
Oh,
I'm on
wow.
my Shohei stuff. He's looking good. I hope he gets called up to the Guardians pretty soon. All right, we got to take a break. When we get back, the Guardians trade for Nolan Jones. He's coming back home. We say goodbye to Tyler Freeman. What does that mean for both of those players as well as Will Brennan, who might not be on the opening day roster after that trade? We'll break that down when we get back here on The Big Factor. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan, Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone. We're talking about the Guardians trade. They bring back old friend Nolan Jones, who you traded a couple years ago to get Juan Brito. Well, now you're getting him back here in Cleveland. You send Tyler Freeman to the Colorado Rockies. He's assumed to start second base there. I believe their starting second baseman broke his wrist, if I'm not mistaken. So they were a little bit needy for that. It felt like the Guardians reaped the benefits of that trade. But what does this mean for both of those players? But we also have to talk about what it means for Will Brennan and the rest of the outfield, because Will Brennan was supposed to be, or at least was told he was going to be on the opening day roster. Well, you bring in Nolan Jones now. That can shake things up. I would imagine he is going to make the opening day roster. Jack, everything that you saw from this trade, what are your thoughts? We'll start here. I know you're a big Nolan Jones guy, and you're definitely not a Tyler Freeman or Will Brennan guy.
I think it starts out with the people who were anti this trade because of the value of Tyler Freeman. Tyler Freeman's a very hard baseball player. He runs the bases hard. He steals bases. He gives his all in the outfield or the infield, wherever he's at, on any given rep. But you got to look long-term here a little bit as well. Tyler Freeman, unless something happens to Travis Bazzana, Juan Brito, Angel Martinez, Angel Henao, and probably even Will Wilson at this point, would not be playing second base or shortstop entering opening day next year. He's a backup utility behind Arias and Sheeman as well. In center field, you have DeLauder coming up one day who can push things around. Nolan himself can play center field. There's going to be options. George Valera. You didn't really need him for the outfield either. If the Rockies had an obvious need, they had to go get a second baseman who could breathe at a Major League Baseball level, because the Rockies are just teetering on AAA and major leagues. They're kind of blurring the reality in between. So they had to go out and get something. Freeman works out there. And this is just the perfect low-risk, high-reward move for the Guardians. I'm going to start off everything I say by acknowledging out loud the fact that last year Nolan Jones hit .225 with 3 home runs in 60 games and was injured all year and didn't play his best baseball. I'm sure he'd be the first to admit that. The last time Nolan Jones was healthy in Major League Baseball, he finished fourth in National League Rookie of the Year voting, hit 20 home runs, and stole 20 bases in just over 100 games. This time last year, we're looking at late March of 2024, Nolan Jones was the breakout star of the NL, the Colorado Rockies budding franchise player, a year of injuries, and now the guy's turned to dust. And you get a great chance now in Cleveland to take the guy back. You probably should have never traded him in the first place. You got burned. Now you get him back. Finish the story.
You mentioned that stat line in 2023. It was 106 games, so you're right, just over 100 games. You mentioned the 20 home runs, 931 OPS too, so the guy gets on base. And you talked about high reward, low risk. That is this trade. Like Tyler Freeman, the ceiling there is barely visible. I made the joke, it's lower than my vertical, and I can't jump over a piece of paper, okay? You bring in Nolan Jones, a guy with some pop, a guy who can hit can hit lefties and righties pretty damn well, right? Like, this is a great move for the Guardians, but what does this mean for a guy like Will Brennan, who you thought was going to be on the opening day roster, but now you're not so sure?
Yeah, this is a tough one to see what they do, because it's also, this goes way deeper into roster construction now too, because you're so handcuffed by having Manzardo, Santana can basically only play first base. David Fry's eventually going to come back. He can't even play the field. So you're in a really weird spot where I almost think there's a chance that Will Brennan does not make the opening day roster, even though he was told that he was going to. Stephen Vogt said it. They were talking about the trade last night. Like, sometimes the way spring training shakes out, you get opportunities at things you didn't expect. Much like other sports, a guy goes down, a guy gets cut, whatever. You could find your quarterback week 3 of preseason. That's kind of what happened here in this. Nolan Jones is a clear upgrade over Will Brennan in right field. So that calls into question Nolan, a guy who primarily is going to bat against right-handed pitching, even though he did have an over 900 OPS against left-handed pitching in 2023. Now you're kind of cutting into, okay, well, John can also hit lefties. How many more spots do you really need for the outfield? You got to help out Sheeman and Arias a little bit. Like, can we really roll with those two at second base and shortstop? I wouldn't be shocked if Will Wilson or someone else makes the opening day roster as a right-hander that can hit left-handed pitching for the infield.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the ceiling of Jones. It's obviously way higher than Freeman's will ever be. You have two absolute monsters in John Kenzie and Nolan Jones, who can both, by the way, run the bases pretty damn well for their size, I would say. So,
and both play like defensively. Both have the hose defensively in right field. I mean, right field has turned into a position that I was worried about to now a position that I'm probably maybe a little bit more excited about. Like, just the tandem, I think, of Big Christmas and Nolan Jones is just much more exciting than the tandem of Will Brennan and Big Christmas was going to be.
Because you got Nolan literally is the fastest arm out of the outfield in baseball, and Junk has to be top 5 too. Like there are going to be bullets coming out of that right field down the line in the corner right into second base all season long.
Don't forget about Tyler Naquin, who conspiracy theory might be coming for that outfield spot as well. He's got a hose on him.
Maybe he beats out Will Brennan for that last spot.
Maybe. Last thing I want to ask you though on this, Jack, do you think this signals anything for Chase DeLauder? He has the foot injuries, the chronic ones. Not this time. It's a groin injury, I believe. What do you think this means for Chase DeLauder? I don't think you can expect him to make really anything of an impact on the roster this season. I think if you were to get anything from him, you'd look at it as a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because Chase DeLauder reminds me a lot of a former right field prospect we had that was always great in the outfield, had a great bat whenever he was in the lineup, had crazy power, who we drafted below slot because of his injury issues. That guy's name was Nolan Jones. He reminds me an awful lot of Nolan Jones. But there's a thing with this, when you already have Will Brennan, who, as much as we like to get on Will Brennan a little bit, sometimes Will Brennan is going to be a 250 hitter every single year, get his job done, hit his 10 home runs, and be in the 7 through 9 hole in an okay lineup. Like, Will Brennan's not a bad baseball player by any means. Going out and getting Nolan Jones signals to me that the Chase DeLauder injury is either worse than we know about, or that his stock is just a bit diminished by the organization, because you don't go out and trade for older Chase DeLauder when you have Chase DeLauder, unless Chase DeLauder's not okay.
All right, last thing here on the Guardians before we flip over to March Madness. Jack, Tristan McKenzie, it's announced he will start the season in the bullpen, and you actually called this, I believe it was about a month ago. You thought the best thing for Tristan McKenzie to get right was to put him in the bullpen to open the season.
Yeah, I mean, look at Cal Quantrill, Carlos Carrasco. There's a number of guys in our organization who were highly touted guys, couldn't really figure it out, went to the bullpen, came back, worked out for them. This has always kind of been a Cleveland, I guess, tradition we do. Like, your last chance is, all right, go to the bullpen, see if it works out. That's kind of what we do here. I don't know, man. I'm a little bit cautious on this, though, because you are giving the option to Jacob Junis and Kobe Allard, who both were fighting for that long arm role, to now walk if they choose to. And that's a little bit of a tough one, because Kobe Allard, who we talked about on the show when the Guardians signed him, was a top 15 pick who never really figured it out. And then out of nowhere this spring, he was awesome for the Guardians. Sub-2 ERA, pitched about 15 innings, I believe. So good for that guy. He might have a shot around the league, but now it kind of gives me the, okay, this guy might actually work out, so you really got to be banking on McKenzie to help out for a couple of months here.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, this is like a last chance thing for Tristan McKenzie. It does get to the point where you got to do your business on the pot, or you got to get up, brother. We know how that is. But shout out to Logan Allen. Your agenda for Logan Allen. He makes,
dude, all of my
he gets
agendas
the
are on
fifth
fire
rotation.
right now. The agendas are on fire. I mean, Logan Allen, just a guy, awesome 2023. Came back last year, a little bit of injury issues early on, couldn't find the strike zone, lost his confidence. Who's to say he can't go out and replicate? This is such a year of bringing 2023 back for everyone in the organization. We're going every single team in our division gets to have a year every 3 years where they're the fourth best team in the division, but everyone has a career year and they somehow win the division, a la 2020 White Sox, 2021 Twins. It's our year for once to have that. Everyone has a career year out of nowhere. Go Guards. We're so back. Over 81.5.
Well, I
Isn't that
hope
what
so.
last year was, though, kind of.
Yeah, but they were all younger, though. Not as many career. You got to have, like,
True.
The regression, Jack. Everybody loves talking about regression.
Oh, progression. We are a progression program.
Oh, yeah.
In all facets, we
Over
are
82
progression
and a half.
program.
Over 82.5. To the bank, car keys, house keys, whatever you got.
All right, we got to take a break. When we get back, March Madness, the Sweet 16 is set. A little bit of madness, not as much as everybody would like, but we did see some upsets and teams moving on. We'll talk about that when we get back here on The Big Factor. Well, the Sweet 16 is set in March, guys. Welcome back to The Big Factor. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone. 16 teams left vying to cut down those nets in San Antonio. Not as much madness as I feel like we've had through 2 rounds in the previous tournaments, but that's okay. I still feel like we had a slew of really good games. 4 number 1 seeds advance. Of course, that's Florida, Duke, Auburn, Houston. 3 number 2 seeds, Bama, Michigan State, Tennessee. 2 3 seeds, Texas Tech, Kentucky. And 3 4 seeds, Arizona, Maryland, and Purdue. The game I want to start with was one of the bigger upsets. It was an upset, but guys, it wasn't that crazy when you have a legendary coach like John Calipari going on to the Sweet 16. That's Arkansas over St. John's. He beats Pitino. The magical run at St. John's is over for the Red Storm. But I want to talk about how bad their offense was in that game, right? Arkansas, credit to them. They played with a lot of heart. Calipari was emotional. It's sad to see Rick Pitino go out in the second round. A lot of people, the Rizzler, had him cutting down the nets.
Yeah.
But you know who didn't? The big factor. Because the big factor was
Jack, you
all
did call
over
Arkansas
coming into that contest.
I was surprised St. John's was still in that game for as long as they were. They could not put the ball in the ocean, guys. Yeah. And Arkansas made the shots when it mattered. Calipari going to the Sweet 16 again with his 4th program, I think now. Yeah. Legendary coach.
Ridiculous.
It's an upset, but when you look at it, it really wasn't that surprising. In fact, Jack, you called this upset, Arkansas over St. John's.
Yeah, I think the fellas profited off this game, actually, dare I say.
I did not.
Nick, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are. So 2 for 3. But yeah, this was a tough game. I mean, looking at it from that perspective, like, it was such a big story, and we knew this was going to be a March after day 1 and day 2 where there wasn't enough madness for all of us. And arguably the whole weekend there wasn't enough madness. It was going to come somewhere. It had to come from someone. Rick Pitino and St. John's was America's sweethearts. Everyone and their mother wanted them to win the championship, so it had to be Arkansas. It just made sense, right? But yeah, it was so weird because Arkansas looked phenomenal against Kansas in that opening game, I thought. Their defense was incredible, and yeah, we talked about Hunter Dickinson, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. Yeah. Kansas isn't exactly peak Kansas right now. But yeah, man, Arkansas, they just play good defense. And Nick, what do they do in March that matters most? Bring the ball down, they rebound.
And free throws.
Answer right in advance.
Made free throws, rebounded the ball well. It was surprising. I want your guys' take on it, though. Like, has there been enough madness throughout the first weekend of March Madness? Games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We got a big buzzer beater Sunday night with the Maryland Terps. That was like, okay, feels like March. But other than that, like, the upsets feel like few and far between. And the ones that were there, like McNeese the first day of the tournament, like, that was a trendy pick that everybody had. And then they couldn't even really be a Cinderella because they got bounced the same weekend. So, like, I don't know. It feels like it is maybe like a little bit of a down year for the tournament.
I can explain it if you want in 10 seconds, actually. We're going to go a little role play here. Can you be the starting point guard for VCU? And I'm going to be a booster slash agent?
Okay. Oh, here we go.
Hey, would you rather make $50,000 to be the starting point guard for VCU or $300,000 to be the 7th guy on the Kansas bench?
Yeah.
Hey, it depends if you're betting on yourself.
It was a lot of chalk picks, and I think that hopefully that is a trend that, like, I guess it'll make the upsets that much more sweeter.
It will. There'll be less.
Well, there weren't that many upsets, but I still think the madness in the games were fantastic. Like, Florida UConn went down to the wire. Dan Hurley not very happy about the officiating in that one. Duke blew out Baylor. That wasn't a very good game. BJ Edgecombe going to the NBA's career at Baylor's probably over. Houston beat Gonzaga, but that was a close game that also went down to the wire. And Auburn, right, almost losing to Creighton.
Well, it's good basketball.
It was a bunch of almost.
Yeah, it was. That's a good way to put it. A bunch of almost madnesses.
That's also, like, these are all good basketball teams, though, still. Like, we're never going to lose good basketball and crazy endings in March Madness. I think it's going to be the first weekend's going to take a hit. I just got a bad feeling that we're going to trend more towards the round of 64 looking like round 1 of the NBA playoffs, where it's a bunch of 4s and 5-game series, a bunch of blowouts. But it's going to be good basketball down the wire, as always. I mean, there are so many talented kids out there. And
it really was good basketball. Like, I'm not trying to say that it wasn't. Like, especially, like, a lot of the closer seeded games, like how many 10-7 games went to the wire. Yeah, so, like, there were a lot of good games throughout. It just felt like, it feels like currently this tournament, like right now as we're getting ready for the Sweet 16 later this week, it doesn't have like a hero. It just still doesn't really have much of a Cinderella. Like, it
doesn't have any guys that are going to be selling insurance in a couple years that you're like, wow, he's hooping right now.
One of the greatest coaches ever.
But
you know,
so who's the second lowest seed remaining? We got it up here.
I think. Well, you mentioned 10 Arkansas.
Ole Miss,
and Ole Miss, yeah. Credit Ole Miss. I thought they were going to lose to North Carolina, but here they are in the Sweet 16.
They're in my Sweet 16, baby. My bracket is in last, though, in my group challenge.
Best
Which
game.
is weird, actually, you would think.
Because your bets have been hot.
I've been hot, but my bracket is awful.
But you mentioned probably the best game so far. I thought it was Arkansas St. John's, but then since then was the buzzer beater Maryland over Colorado State. That was crazy.
Travel or no?
See, did you guys see Fanta's video about that? Because
No, I didn't
for
watch
everybody
it.
complaining about madness, there was not enough. And then he says, what does he say? He says, child, please. He says, you want madness and you're going to sit here and debate if it's a travel or not. Give me a break. So I'm with Fanta in that boat. Not a travel. It's a game
Also,
over.
is there anything more heartbreaking than the double buzzer beater?
No.
Just in sports, it's got to be up there because everyone knows that feeling of when you get buzzer beatered on and you just like that shallow, you feel like you're 2 feet tall. Awful feeling. We're talking Derrick Rose banks it when we were little kids against the Cavs in the playoffs. Heart sinks. But then you rip it right. I mean, that's just there's the emotional swing, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. I mean, this is March.
Well, that's the beauty of madness. Exactly. Yeah. That's what March Madness is all about. All right, we got to take another.
They would have called that a travel.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes, they would have. We got to take another break. When we get back, we'll look a little bit of ahead to the Sweet 16 matchups and wrap this bad boy up. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. We're looking ahead to the Sweet 16 games, which take place on Thursday. BYU, Alabama, Maryland, Florida, Arizona, Duke, Arkansas, Texas Tech. One of my biggest takeaways was, boy, is Duke good. I mean,
really
wow.
Good.
I think Duke right now is the best team in the country. I think they went in as the overall favorite. I was high on them, but I wasn't as high as them as I am right now after watching them blow out Baylor.
How also too? How fun is Cooper Flag? How fun is Cooper Flag going to continue to be throughout the rest of this tournament? How fun of a project is Cooper Flag going to be in the NBA? He is still a prospect and is going to be a project of a player in the NBA. I don't know that he's the type of player that'll come in and make kind of that Victor Wembanyama type impact, even though the comparisons have been drawn. He's fun, and Duke is really good. I picked Duke to win the whole thing, so
yeah,
I'm not backing off that now.
No, Duke looks absolutely unstoppable. I mentioned they have a date with Arizona. I don't think Arizona will get it done. Arkansas, Texas
Cooper Flag,
Tech.
Six Flag, Air Tags, Cats money line.
There you go.
They're coming.
No, Cats money line. Hell no. Duke's winning that game, brother. I'm sorry about that. But Arkansas, Texas Tech, Texas Tech's favored by 5.5. Can John Calipari get it done again and go to the Elite Eight?
Seeing is believing, right? We have to ride with the Woo Pig Suey from here on out, right? You'd think after 2 rounds.
I think the games on Friday are probably a little bit more entertaining, or at least supposed to be. Ole Miss, Michigan State, Kentucky, Tennessee. That'll be a good one. Michigan, Auburn, who I said I have Michigan in my Final Four. I thought they were going to lose. I thought they were absolutely cooked.
Yeah.
And then they came back and won. I was very happy about that. I know we bet different ways. You had Texas A&M, I believe, winning that game.
Gig 'em.
And they were winning for a while. Michigan pulled away. And then Purdue, Houston. Will Purdue ever be able to cut down the nets? I don't think so. Houston looks really good. Almost lost to Gonzaga. Did you guys see Kelvin Sampson in the presser talking about, don't call them Gonzaga, it's Gonzaga.
Because people have called him
Kevin Sampson.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. I still feel good about my Houston pick to win it all.
Me too. I mean, that's the thing is you got to win those tough battles. Like you saw it a bit with that Florida and UConn game as well. Obviously, this UConn roster under Coach Hurley is not the same as it has been the last 2 years, but anytime you get them in March, they're going to be a tough out. They're well coached. They've been there a ton of times. That's the exact same case for the Bulldogs. They didn't make it all the way this year. Like, that's a team who went to 10 straight Sweet 16s. They were always going to be a tough out. Like, everyone had that circle as a possible upset, but our Cougs fought through, got it done, baby.
Yes, they did. And I hope they're cutting down the nets because, like I said, if they win, I'm the only one in my bracket who picked them. So that means I'll get the first overall pick in my fantasy draft, and I want that, obviously. All right, we got to take one more break when we get back here on the Big Factor. Routine Guy. I think he actually has a name, believe it or not. I've seen some of his huddle highlights. If you haven't seen it, go on Twitter. You'll see him. Look up Routine Guy. Dunks his face in ice water. Does a whole lot more. We'll talk about that when we get back here on the Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Final stretch here on the Big Factor. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone. Lastly here, Ashton Hall has taken the social media world by storm, a fitness influencer. His bizarre morning routine video has caught the attention of millions around the world. Jack, it caught your attention. I think you think it's goofy. I think it's goofy. Nick, I'm sure you think it's goofy. Everybody's just absolutely roasting this guy. Gets up at 3 a.m., puts his face in ice water, drinks his fancy water, does a whole lot more. That's as far as I know about this video. Jack, what do you know about this?
You know, as a fellow fitness instructor, first of all, I do have to tell him for the brand, like, hey, do whatever makes you happy. If this helps you reach your goals, by all means, good for you. The guy's in great shape. If he's happy and living his best life, he shouldn't give a bleep about what anyone else has to say. You know, be happy, live your life. But yeah, he looks like an idiot. That's definitely the first thing that comes across my head. Anytime I see any of these like get ready with me videos or whatever, the first thought is always, because for those who aren't familiar, so this guy like takes like small 5-minute snapshots of his day where he'll record his phone for like 5 seconds, like him getting into the pool, him diving into the pool, him getting out of the pool, him eating, him joining a meeting, him talking during the meeting, him leaving the meeting, working out, running on the treadmill, all this kind of stuff. I think about how stupid he has to look when he gets out of the pool, goes, props up his little phone, heads back in, gets right back out. Like it just looks stupid in the first place.
I have a confession for you guys. I tried to make one of these like years ago when I lived downtown. I was trying to do like a day in the life of like working here. So like I woke up.
Probably would be good for brand content.
And then like walked out of my apartment, took my dog outside, came back. I was like, this is horrible. Like the amount of times I had to put my phone there, press record, then walk, then go back, stop record. I'm like, this is like, I'll spend literally my whole day just picking up my phone, putting it down, pressing record, doing a 5-second video, going back to get my phone. Like, it's so not practical.
That's also a little different because
I made it through maybe like not even 5 clips.
If you're making
like
a video like
clips.
that with actually maybe like informative information, you're like, here's a day in the life of, I host a podcast,
Yeah.
I work in the social media landscape. Like you're showing how stuff gets done. Meanwhile, this guy, it's just a video of him showing his perfect life. The perfect
That's
way to
true.
live and get healthy. Like nobody wants to see that garbage. If you're not actually teaching them something, like, and I highly doubt this dude's doing that every single morning, getting up at 3. I'm like, come on, give me a break.
The funniest by far could be, and this is the meme that has like gotten the most run, is when he gets like a big mixing bowl and fills it up with ice water, and he just like the camera, the shot is literally just like the bowl of the ice water and then go to Jack, and he just puts his head right into the bowl. It is by far the funniest part.
And he has the mouth tape, like the mouth guards, the teeth whitening stuff.
And him running on the treadmill is really funny too, because mind you, I don't tend to run on treadmills around tons of people, so I could be just talking out of my behind here. I don't know what's going on, but you gotta think no one really runs like that, right? Like the guy's just like the machine going crazy. Like he just like he sounds like a moron, you know. But yeah, I mean it's just that it's the putting the banana peels on his face. Like that can't be good for you. I don't. That's got to be made up stuff. And the worst of all, you know, if you're not gonna, you can do this and you look better than everyone else. Good for you. I get it. But when it says no diving on the wall and you have the nerve to not only dive into the pool, but record yourself diving into the pool and then put it out there in front of people, you don't even respect your home and the people that work for the place you live in. So shame on you.
The best part is, too, he's like, he does it in the morning, dunks his face in the ice water, but then he does it later. He has a full-ass suit on, dunking his head in ice water.
And he's also, in that video, most meetings I've been on in my life tend to not go 5 minutes. That guy was in there for literally 5 minutes. He goes in, dunks the head at 9:09 by 9 and like it's like 9:12. He's like, yeah, like for thousands, like as if he's just like closing like a crazy deal, and then just ends at 9:16. So it's like, yep, 7-minute meeting, and he made $1 million.
Hey, I guess everybody's got their daily routines. As long as you get in a habit, I guess, who are we to hate?
Exactly.
I will say, man, before maybe this is what we need to do before the NFL draft. Like when we're gonna announce, like we're gonna be live, like we're gonna have like a little live stream.
Oh yeah,
going with Big Play, little watch party somewhere. Dude, we're gonna get like we should all the three of us get like our own bowls of ice water like before they're on before they're about to go on the clock. And just put our heads in it, just to like really ground ourselves before whatever that pick.
Because we've talked about this pick a lot, for those wondering.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, so like get the ice water ready.
By the way,
we all need it.
Before anyone else throws it out, because you know this is coming up during NFL draft season, can I be the first person to stake their claim on the Jackson Dart 2 overall ground? Just because it's gonna come up eventually, right?
No, I hope
it happens
not.
every single year. This time, the third quarterback's gonna enter. It's coming.
Draft Will Howard at 2 at that point.
What?
All right, we got to go, everybody. Appreciate you watching The Big Factor. Huge shout out to Fairway Forward. Huge shout out to Garage Beer. If you're watching us on the Rock Entertainment Sports Group, appreciate you. Really happy to be part of that venture. Everybody, peace out.